It is every single homeowner's worst nightmare, right? You come home to a burst pipe, you notice a leak after a storm, and just like that, water is everywhere it shouldn't be. It's one of those problems that can strike completely out of the blue. So let's just dive right in and dissect what's actually happening when water decides to invade your home.
And really, this is the big question, isn't it? What happens when water wins? Because make no mistake, the second it gets in, it kicks off this catastrophic chain reaction of destruction. It is quite literally a race against time. And understanding what's at stake, well, that's step one.
And the signs? Oh, they are hard to miss. Your baseboards start to swell up. Those gorgeous wood floors begin to cup and buckle. And then you see them, those dreaded water stains creeping across the drywall. Oh, and that musty smell? Yeah, that's the telltale signature of moisture hiding where you can't see it. So in this explainer, we're going to break down that race against the clock. We'll decode the different types of water you could be dealing with, and we'll walk you through the professional playbook for how to take your home back.
All right, first things first, we absolutely have to talk about the single most critical factor in any water damage situation, and that's time. It's a literal ticking clock, because water doesn't wait for anyone, and every single minute that ticks by, the damage just gets worse and worse. And if there's one number you need to burn into your brain, it's this one, 48. 48 hours. That is the critical window you're working with. Why? Because after just 2 days in a damp environment, mold can start to grow. And once it starts, it spreads, turning a simple water problem into a major health hazard. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a hard deadline set by nature.
Now, I get it. Your first instinct might be to run out, grab the shop vac, and set up a bunch of fans. But this right here shows you why that can be a huge mistake. A DIY attempt, it almost always leaves hidden moisture behind, and that's just a welcome mat from mold and rot. The professional response, on the other hand, is on a whole different level. We're talking thermal imaging to hunt down every last drop of moisture, and industrial-strength gear that dries your home in days, not weeks.
Okay, so let's zoom in and look at a real-world case study to see how all this plays out. We're heading to a place like Neptune Beach, Florida. Now, why there? Because it's a perfect example of a high-risk zone, where the environment itself puts buildings under constant, relentless moisture stress.
I mean, just think about this recipe for disaster. You've got super high humidity, which means once things get wet, they stay wet for a long time. You've got that corrosive saltwater air just eating away at building materials, a low water table, and oh yeah, you're in the middle of the Atlantic hurricane season with its crazy thunderstorms. It's literally the perfect storm for water getting into your house.
And the threat doesn't stop at the front door. Inside these properties, it can be just as risky. You know those charming old beach cottages? They often have aging plumbing that's just waiting for the right moment to fail. Water heaters? They corrode way faster because of all that salt in the air. And your AC unit, which is working overtime to battle the humidity, the condensate drains can easily overflow. In an environment like this, these aren't just what-ifs. They're pretty much guaranteed to happen eventually.
Okay, this next point is absolutely crucial, so listen up. Not all water is created equal. Where the water came from is every bit as important as how much of it there is. The source actually determines the health risk, and it dictates the entire professional response. So let's decode these 3 official contamination categories.
First up, we have Category 1, which is basically clean water. So think of a broken supply line under your sink, or maybe some rainwater that got in. Now, don't get me wrong, it can still cause massive damage to your property, but, and this is the key part, it doesn't pose a major health risk at first. The game plan here is mostly about extraction and thorough drying. All right, next we step it up a notch to Category 2, or gray water. Now things are getting a little murky. We're talking about water that has some significant contamination. This is the stuff that comes from, say, an overflowing washing machine or a busted dishwasher. It's dirty enough that it could definitely make you sick, so the response has to include an antimicrobial treatment.
And finally, we have the most serious of all. Category 3, black water. This is the bad stuff. We're talking grossly contaminated, flat-out dangerous water. Think raw sewage backing up into your basement, or floodwater from a river or the ocean. This water is teeming with harmful bacteria, viruses, you name it. This isn't just a mess, it's a serious health hazard.
This little chart here sums it all up perfectly, doesn't it? You can see how as you go from Category 1 down to Category 3, the required action gets way more intense. With black water, we're not just talking about drying things out anymore. No, we're talking about the careful, safe removal and disposal of anything contaminated, like your drywall, your insulation, your carpets. They all have to go.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time on the problem and all the risks. Now let's talk about the solution.
The good news is there's a professional playbook for this. It's not guesswork. It's a step-by-step, science-based process that's all about minimizing damage and getting your property back to normal, safely.
You know, this quote here really says it all. Water does not wait, neither do we. That perfectly captures the mindset you need. This isn't a problem you can put off until Monday morning. It is a 24/7 emergency, and it demands an immediate and decisive response.
And here's what that response looks like in action. It all kicks off with that first emergency call and getting a team dispatched immediately. Once they're on site, it's all about assessment, using specialized gear like moisture meters and thermal cameras to see exactly what they're dealing with. Then comes the heavy lifting, massive water extraction, followed by setting up all the industrial drawing equipment. And this is key. They don't just set it and forget it. They're back every single day, monitoring the progress, making adjustments until they can scientifically verify that everything is completely dry.
So, what's the real difference between a true professional and, just some guy with a fan and a truck? Well, it really boils down to three things: industry standards, real science, and having the right high-tech tools for the job. You might hear the term IICRC-certified, and this is what they're talking about. It means the technicians have been trained to follow something called the S500 standard. You can think of it as the literal Bible for the water restoration industry. It lays out the exact science-backed procedures for everything, from how to find moisture to how to dry a structure properly. It's all about making sure the job is done right and, more importantly, safely. And speaking of tools, this is the kind of gear we're talking about. This is not the stuff you find at your local hardware store. We're talking truck-mounted extractors that can pull out thousands of gallons of water an hour, thermal cameras that can literally see moisture that's hidden behind your walls, and these special dehumidifiers, they can suck moisture out of the air in the most humid conditions way more powerfully than any home unit ever could.
This chart really drives the point home, doesn't it? Look at the difference. With professional gear, you can get a structure dry in about 3 to 5 days. Denser materials like a hardwood floor might take a bit longer, maybe 7 to 10 days. But trying to do it yourself with a few box fans, you're looking at weeks, if it even dries at all. And all that time, guess what's happening? Mold is having a party.
So, if you're going to remember just a few things from all this, make it these. First, speed is absolutely critical. That 48-hour window before mold starts is real, and it is non-negotiable. Second, the type of water matters, big time. Its category determines the entire game plan. And finally, getting an expert with the right equipment isn't a luxury. It's essential if you want to prevent serious, long-term damage and health problems down the road.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question. For most homeowners, water damage really isn't a matter of if it will happen, but when. So now that you've seen the anatomy of the damage and you know the professional playbook for the response, the only question left is your property ready for when water wins?